Hello and welcome to this DLC webinar describing this year's update to our network lighting controls technical requirements. My name is Levin Nock and I serve as the Senior Technical Manager for development of the DLC's technical requirements for network lighting controls, or NLC. Today I'll give you an overview of version 5 of the network lighting controls technical requirements, which was just released last week. My colleague Bhagwat Mohan will be in the background today monitoring and responding to questions and comments. Bhagwat serves as the DLC Senior Technical Operations Analyst, managing network lighting controls application reviews and updates with new products for the Qualified Products List, or QPL. First, a few logistics. This webinar is being recorded. The recording and the slides will both be posted on the DLC website under News and Events. Since we have a large group today, all attendees are on mute. If you have questions about the content, please write them in the question pane. We will answer what we can at the end of the presentation and follow up with you afterwards as needed. For technical issues about attending the webinar, please use the chat pane. On the agenda for today, first, I'll give an overview of the document and then focus on the two main topics that have been updated, namely interoperability and cybersecurity. After that, we'll wrap up with a few other miscellaneous changes. This table summarizes the evolution of the network lighting controls technical requirement since the NLC QPL launched in 2016. Back in 2018, we started multi-year plans for energy monitoring and cybersecurity. Now in 2020, those plans are continuing to evolve. The energy monitoring plan has now been incorporated into a broader plan for interoperability. We sent out the first draft of this update in early February, and comments were due in mid-March. Based on those comments, a second draft was released in mid-April with comments due in late May. Based on those comments, the final version was released on June 23rd. The technical requirement is now a 20-page document with changes from last year highlighted in yellow. There are currently 50 NLC systems on the DLC Qualified Products List that qualify for many utility incentives across North America by meeting the requirements of this technical requirement document. We have focused on two topics this year. First is interoperability, which enables lighting and other building systems and components to connect with each other and exchange actionable data so they can operate in a well-defined and appropriate way. This will unlock new energy savings, for instance, by sharing lighting occupancy data with an HVAC system. It can also go beyond that to building optimization and grid integration. We've included energy monitoring in this topic, where NLC systems report their performance to utility programs, as one example of communications between NLC systems and the outside world. Second is cybersecurity, which is now required. This practice of defending network systems and data from malicious attacks is critical for customer trust and broader adoption. Interoperability and cybersecurity are two sides of the same coin. In order for NLC systems to provide more value to customers and thus expand the reach of NLC energy savings, broader interoperability is essential. At the same time, this increases the risk of connecting to something inappropriate, which is where cybersecurity comes in. Tables 1 and 1.1 in the document on page 13 have a list of capabilities that are required or reported for interior lighting. On the left, these 9 capabilities are required for all qualified products. The cybersecurity topic on the left is highlighted because it is moved this year from reported on the right to required on the left. Note that there may be a difference between what a system is capable of and what is actually installed on each project. For example, if a warehouse has no daylighting, then a contractor might choose not to install any photosensors for daylight harvesting. That's okay, provided that the system has a photosensor available that could be installed on a different project that has windows. On the right, these 14 capabilities are reported and not required. If a system has any of these capabilities, then this is reported on the QPL, to help specifiers select appropriate systems for various projects. But a system can still be qualified on the list whether or not it has any of these optional capabilities on the right. Table 1.1 is highlighted because these capabilities were separated out this year into a new companion table to emphasize that they are focused on interoperability. Tables 2 and 2.1 are very similar to Tables 1 and 1.1, except that this applies to exterior systems, where scheduling is required in addition to the 9 capabilities required for interior systems. Table 3 on pages 15 through 20 shows the DLC definition for each of the 23 capabilities that we just saw in Tables 1 and 2. Here is the table of contents. The main tables we just saw are at the bottom, pages 13 through 20. Before that, the multi-year plan section on pages 5 through 12 describes plans for interoperability and for cybersecurity. In terms of the main section headings, the multi-year plan for energy monitoring from version 4 was expanded and renamed this year as the multi-year plan for interoperability. And also the grace period section was renamed as delisting and next release. And now we'll talk about interoperability. In terms of interoperability in network lighting controls, this slide summarizes the DLC's vision. Why is this topic important? Well, we believe that interoperable network lighting control systems will enhance the market value of NLC systems in multiple ways. They will make buildings more energy efficient and occupants more comfortable, as appropriate lighting and thermal comfort is delivered when and where it's needed. They will make facility operations more efficient because bidirectional data sharing enables facility managers to monitor operations more closely. These and other benefits delivered by ever-expanding new software applications will increase market adoption, thus saving more electricity, which is the DLC's core mission. In order for buildings to operate efficiently while keeping their occupants comfortable and playing nicely on a modern electric grid powered by renewable energy sources, we need buildings to operate with built-in intelligence, constantly gathering data and taking action based on that data, with various systems within and beyond a building acting together in a coordinated way. In other words, exchanging actionable information across systems. In practically all occupied commercial spaces, luminaires are evenly distributed overhead across the space, along with a convenient source of electrical power at each luminaire. This makes networked luminaires ideal for supporting intelligent buildings, with integrated sensors not only for occupancy and light levels, but also air quality and other parameters of occupant comfort and safety. All that sensor data is only useful if information can be exchanged between various systems, so that one system can gather the data and other systems can act upon it. We chose to focus on interoperability in terms of use cases. A use case describes a scenario where a system is used to achieve a specific goal or goals. For instance, one of the use cases discussed in the technical requirement, an NLC system is used to generate an energy report that is delivered to an energy efficiency program, supporting an incentive payment that covers some of the cost of the NLC system. The main goal of the building owner is to reduce the electricity bills and the cost of the NLC system, while the main goal of the efficiency program is to save electricity. A use case defines a series of interactions between an actor, in this case the NLC system creating the energy report, and another actor, in this case the utility efficiency program receiving the energy report. The NLC system sends specific data along specific communication pathways in order to meet the goals of the building owner and the utility. The diagram here shows the NLC system in the upper left corner interacting with various systems within a building on the left and beyond the building on the right. We have chosen to focus on 3 initial use cases for interoperability. First is external systems integration, and particularly sharing occupancy data with HVAC systems. Second is load shedding and demand response to meet code and to support participation in utility demand response programs. Third is energy monitoring, to share energy usage reports with utility incentive programs. The DLC recently published a report on interoperability for network lighting controls that goes into detail about each of these three use cases, starting with a general description and ending with suggestions for supportive interventions that various market actors can take. If you're interested, you can find the full research report at designlights.org under Lighting Controls and then Reports. The report has roughly 20 pages of the main body plus several appendices. The conclusion contains a recap of all the ways that various stakeholders can support these three interoperability use cases. We appreciate the generous support of Natural Resources Canada, which co-sponsored this work along with the Design Lights Consortium. That concludes a brief overview of the interoperability report, which served as the basis for the changes concerning interoperability in the technical requirements document. Compared to last year, here's a summary of those changes. As I mentioned, we introduced interoperability as an expansion of the earlier energy monitoring plan. We added the energy reporting tables, EM1 and EM2, with recommendations about what data an energy report would include. We aligned the energy monitoring definition with ASHRAE 19.1 2016 language from energy codes. And we've also added an optional energy reporting by room-based systems, which are exempt from required energy reporting, but we provided a path if they are able to do so. This slide describes the changes in this section between Draft 2 and the final release for folks who have been following along closely with each draft. As I mentioned before, Tables 1.1 and 2.1 clarify that three existing capabilities are now recognized as relevant to the umbrella topic of interoperability. A table with recommendations for load shed demand response data was removed due to a lack of consensus. Since energy reports are still evolving, we recognized state change data as an alternative to 15-minute interval data. We clarified the energy reporting exception for room-based systems and for external systems integration, recognizing building management systems as well as application programming interfacing. What is now the Interoperability Plan started off in 2018 as the Energy Monitoring Plan, when energy monitoring was reported. Last year in 2019, energy monitoring was required for more systems. Like the daylight harvest example that I mentioned earlier, some contractors might choose to install energy monitoring on some projects and not others, but at least it's available if they want to install it. There's an exception for small systems that only claim a room-based scope. In other words, the energy monitoring requirement only applies to systems that scale to the level of a whole building or a portfolio of buildings. This year, we have loosely aligned the requirements with language similar to the ASHRAE Energy Code 90.1 for 15-minute time-stamped interval data and record retention of at least 2 years. These tables from pages 7 and 8 describe guidelines for energy data reporting. In the definition of energy monitoring, the main change from last year was to add a section aligning with ASHRAE 90.1. By the way, the language is similar to both the 2016 and 2019 editions, except that we reduced the record length requirement from 36 months to 24 months based on comments. We also added a section about how room-based systems can provide optional energy reports, even though it's not required. These are some examples of DLC member programs that use energy reports now in their incentive programs. At present, they parse the spreadsheet data manually, which is labor-intensive and not scalable to large numbers of projects. We want to encourage the industry to move toward data reports that are easier to analyze automatically. And now the next topic is cybersecurity. I'll start off the cybersecurity section by mentioning a report published recently by the U.S. Department of Energy. They tested some connected lighting systems for authentication vulnerability to hackers. For instance, authentication enables human users to access system configuration and management software, and also enables machines to automatically access application programming interfaces, or APIs. The results from 4 of the systems tested are shown on the right. Basically, all 4 systems passed some of the tests in orange and failed some of the tests in gray. This report highlights the need for further development related to cybersecurity across a diverse sample of connected lighting systems, especially since they only tested authentication, which is one aspect of risk among several. Our intent with cybersecurity is to ensure that all listed manufacturers have addressed cybersecurity in a formally recognized way. If we kept other systems on the list indefinitely, that could have implications for the DLC brand and credibility, and in turn for utility programs. Second, for transparency and clear communication, we want to be able to cite third-party standards or publicly defined services. Third, we want to disclose to users of the qualified products list the ways that manufacturers have addressed cybersecurity. While we cannot be responsible for ensuring cybersecurity, we want to provide information to decision makers so they are more equipped to choose an appropriate system based on the risk profile of each project. We want to avoid claiming any assurance or responsibility and associated liability for the cybersecurity performance of listed systems. We are not cybersecurity experts, and this is a much more complex issue than simply requiring systems to meet any particular standard. The Cybersecurity Multi-Year Plan was launched in 2018 when cybersecurity activities were reported for the first time. In 2019, we established criteria to recognize particular standards, but cybersecurity was still optional. Now in 2020, cybersecurity will be required for all products that are listed at the NLC5 level. Any products without cybersecurity will be delisted on February 28th of 2022. In terms of changes from NLC4, the main change is that cybersecurity is required for all NLC5 systems. Besides that, we also added Table CS2 with some cybersecurity services, based on feedback that the existing standards do not necessarily fit every product on the market. We also added Table CS3, spelling out exactly what documentation is needed for proof of compliance with any of the standards. Compared to Draft 2, the main change was to add the new IOXT standard, which has been recently developed, to the list of other recognized standards. Also, Table CS3 got some updates in terms of exactly what documentation is required. This slide shows the main change highlighted in yellow, where cybersecurity services were added in addition to the cybersecurity standards that were recognized in NLC4. This slide shows the 3 cybersecurity tables. Table CS1 is mostly the same as last year in the upper left corner, except for the addition of IOXT. Tables CS2 describing cybersecurity services and CS3 describing the documentation needs are new this year. By the way, in the frequently asked questions section for network lighting controls on the designlights.org website, a new section is coming soon to give a brief overview of each recognized standard and service. Those were the 2 main topics, and here are a few other changes. So one change was for the customer available information to add exceptions for cybersecurity and for control persistence. While some aspects of cybersecurity may be customer facing, there are many aspects that are hidden from the customer and more relevant to development of the product. And also control persistence is a function that pretty much occurs automatically without the need for any intervention by the user. The commercial availability requirements were spelled out more clearly in terms of needing a field installation at a third-party site and being able to demonstrate most of the capabilities. And also, compared to an earlier draft, we have extended the grace period because of concerns that COVID-19 has delayed the development cycle at several different manufacturers. And so this is a rather complicated graphic showing the new schedule. But the key point here is that February 28, 2022 is when all the products without cybersecurity will be delisted. And so before then, products that have cybersecurity that have applied under NLC5 will be listed as NLC5. Also, products that have applied recently but did not have cybersecurity will still be listed as NLC4 until they meet the cybersecurity requirement, and then they'll be upgraded to NLC5. This graphic is in the technical requirement, and also this presentation will be online, so you can study more details if you are concerned about any of the particular details about the schedule. And also, there's a chance that the release of NLC6 might be delayed. And if that happens, we will notify everyone on the mailing list by January 2021. But whether or not the release of the next big revision, NLC6, whether or not that's delayed, this February 28, 2022 will still be the time when all the products after that date will definitely have cybersecurity. In terms of new applications to match NLC5, they will be available for new products on July 7th. That's a fully blank application. And also for products that are already qualified and want to reapply under the new NLC5, those pre-populated reapplications will be available in early August. And that concludes the main presentation. So let's check on any questions. I'm not seeing any questions. Bhagwat, did you get any?
Yeah, we haven't received any questions so far.
Okay, well, you might get a half hour back of your whatever time this is, morning or afternoon or even evening. But now would be the time, if you do have any questions, to submit them through the question pane. Looks like I'm not seeing anything. We can wait another minute. But if not, thank you all very much for attending. And we do have some questions. Are there any energy monitoring requirements for exterior lighting controls? Yes, the same energy monitoring requirement applies to exterior lighting controls as to interior. So that requirement is relevant to exterior lighting controls. Please, I got a question. Please elaborate on cybersecurity. Well, I'll go back to the tables and let's see here. So to elaborate on cybersecurity, I guess I would talk about these tables. So in order to qualify for NLC5, each product will need to qualify under either one of the standards listed in Table CS1. So for instance, a product that has qualified for SOC 2, that would be qualified, or certified for SOC 2, or a product that is certified under ANSI UL 29-1. We actually already have a couple of products that are certified under that particular standard, and so those will be eligible to upgrade to NLC5. In terms of the 4 different columns in this table CS1, any check mark in any column is good for now. It's possible that in the future, like at least 2 years from now, but after considerable stakeholder input, we might try to narrow this down and say maybe you have to cover more than one column. But for now, it's just if you have any standard that covers any column, then you're set. Or rather than getting certified to one of these standards, you could also get certified to one of the services listed in Table CS2. And we have 3 services currently listed. And so what we're looking for is a certificate of compliance with at least one row in either Table CS1 or Table CS2. And if you have a new product that does not have that yet, you can still fill out an application. And if all of the other answers are acceptable, then that product will be listed on the QPL as NLC4. And then you have until February 28th of 2022 to get your cybersecurity certificate. Then once you get that cybersecurity certificate, you would send that in as proof of cybersecurity, and at that time, the listing would be upgraded from NLC4 to NLC5. And in terms of exactly what kind of documentation we're looking for, this table CS3 is our best current understanding of how exactly each standard is documented. So let's see.
We have a few other questions coming.
Yeah, does the QPL list on DLC website? I can't read that next one. Can you see that, Bhagwat?
Yeah, does the QPL list on DLC website include all these new changes?
Oh, no, not yet. The products that are listed are right now, most of them are at the NLC4 level, and there are still a few at NLC3. But all the NLC3 products will drop off on October 31st unless they upgrade to NLC5. And after that, then in this time span here, all the products will be either NLC5 or NLC4, and then there are some will start being NLC6 unless we move that later. But right now, these changes do not apply to the products that are on the list. This is about how the products will start moving up into these requirements starting now. The next one, why did DLC align? Yeah, why did DLC align with ASHRAE 2016 instead of 2019? Well, the idea was that 2016 is probably has broader coverage at the moment around the country in terms of who's adopted it. And also, when I checked, I didn't really see much difference. So I think it's pretty consistent with, I mean, it doesn't exactly match either one of them, but it's pretty close to both ASHRAE 2016 and 2019. Let's see, yes, a recording of this webinar will be available. Oh, sorry about that. I meant to mention that. Yes, the recording of the website and the slides will both be available within a few days on the Design Lights Consortium website under webinars. Next question, is it necessary to list in DLC to sell the lighting controller? It is only necessary to list on DLC in order to get a utility incentive from utility incentive programs that refer to the DLC list. There are several utility incentive programs across North America that require listing on this QPL in order to get the incentive. And there are several more where it's optional, where the easiest path is to be on this list. But if you're not on this list, you can ask each utility individually for the incentive. So it's not necessarily to sell the lighting controller, it's just necessary in many cases in order to get the utility incentive for an energy efficient product. Let's see. Will the QPL identify which cybersecurity standard an NLC meets, or just that it meets one of them? Yes, our goal is to show which standard or services it meets, or multiple ones, to help a specifier to choose an appropriate system. For instance, some projects really need more than one of these standards. You know, like if you're at a military base, you would probably want FedRAMP and maybe a few others. So yes, the detailed information about how you answered this question will be available on the QPL, available for specifiers to then choose an appropriate level of cybersecurity for their project. Energy metering to store 2 years of samples, is it per fixture or entire system? It is either one you choose. Because we have not settled on a particular standard to reference, it could be for the entire system, or if you're collecting more granular data, then ideally it would be at either the zone level or the fixture level. But all that's required is for 2 years. At the minimum requirement would be 2 years of the whole system. For UL 1376, does it matter which security rating a manufacturer obtains? No, not at this time. So for any of these, some of these standards, and also I think all of these services, have multiple levels of certification. And so the goal at this point, once we get several products that have updated their data to include this information, we will probably be able to report the level. So for instance, a product that's got a diamond level rating would be appropriate for a higher risk project. But no, the DLC is not specifying which level is required, but again, our goal is to report that and let the specifier choose what level of risk they have for a project, and then what security rating they would need from a particular standard or service in order to address that risk of their project. Next question. Can we update an existing listing to NLC5 by providing evidence of cybersecurity? Almost. So once you get for products that are already listed, you will be receiving by email in early August a pre-populated application with a few new questions. And the main change is about cybersecurity. There's a few other questions, but really it's not very many. So yes, if you provide evidence for cybersecurity and answer a few other questions, then you can update to NLC5. But the number of new questions is considerably less extensive than it was in the past few years. Let's see. as of now, IOXT does not have a single product certified. So what is the rationale for allowing IXT as one of the applicable standards? The rationale, well, they don't have any, they do have some products certified. They don't have any network lighting control products certified, but they're moving really fast. And this, they are developing profiles, although the question of do they have a profile specific for network lighting controls is a similar question to should DLC require a particular cybersecurity rating level for any of the standards or services. So when you look at the criteria that we used to choose the different standards, IOXT actually meets them. And we did not get any suggestions for the first or second drafts of ways that we should modify those criteria. So it's possible next time we might modify the criterion, but with the current criterion, IOXT actually meets them, would be the answer to why we added IOXT. I realized that was a little bit risky to include in the final draft, but frankly, IOXT has been developing very rapidly, so it wasn't ready for draft 1, and now it is. Let's see, next question. Does energy need to be stored on the per fixture level or entire site level is good enough? Entire site level is good enough. And storing on the zone level or the fixture level is better. And so some projects will probably want the fixture level or the zone level, but just to meet the minimum requirement, it's only the site level is good enough. Next question. Do both the lighting fixtures and the lighting control system need to get DLC listed for getting QPL rebates? That depends on the particular utility incentive programs. So different efficiency programs are run in different ways. But I will say the easiest way to get the best incentives is to have them both the lighting control system qualified on this QPL and the luminaires qualified on the solid state lighting QPL. That's the easiest path forward. If you only have one or the other QPL and not both, there might be some utilities that will still give you some incentive, but it's probably not as big. For instance, the incentive might only be for the luminaires, but not for the extra controls. Next question. For the individual luminaire addressability, I see that now compatible luminaires and kits are on the website. However, compatible lamps, does the website need to be updated? Yes. So the website needs to be updated for several things. And as we start getting more products that have completed the NLC5 questions, we will be updating the website. In the meantime, the best source of all the data that's available is still the Excel spreadsheet. There is an Excel spreadsheet version of the QPL which you can download, and that has several columns of data which are not on the online QPL yet. The online QPL is an ongoing work in progress, and frankly, it's will probably be a lot better sometime next year. But in the meantime, if you're really looking for the most complete information of lots of little details, the Excel spreadsheet is maybe the place to go if there's a particular piece of information that you cannot find in the online version. And that looks like the last of the question. Great. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and thanks for the good questions. That was actually helped round out the information of the webinar, so I appreciate all of the questions. And it looks like if we're not getting any more questions, then we may be done, and you still got back 20 minutes of your hours. So thank you everybody, and have a good day.